A shaking hand stretched across the gleaming counter the moment the security guard moved toward him. The elderly man's voice barely rose above a whisper, cracked and pleading. "Please, only 5 minutes." His threadbare coat sagged off his narrow frame, and the worn savings book, trembling in his grip, nearly tumbled to the tile. Nearby customers turned to watch, curious and uneasy. The young woman stood frozen, her hand still gripping the strap of her canvas tote, not sure she'd heard him right. Before she could respond, 2 tellers traded a wary look, one already reaching for the phone, certain the old man was lost or making trouble. Late morning light spilled through the towering windows, stretching shadows across the gleaming floor, and the quiet in the room grew thicker with each passing second. Then he lifted his eyes to hers. His lashes glistened as he spoke the words that froze her in place. "Would you pretend, just for a few minutes, to be my granddaughter? I swear I'll never trouble another stranger again." Before she could answer, footsteps clicked steadily across the lobby. A man in a crisp charcoal suit approaching with a look that hinted something bigger was about to unfold. Before we dive deeper into this story, welcome back to the channel. If tales of compassion, resilience, and unlikely bonds move you, hit subscribe, drop a like, and let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. It genuinely helps us keep bringing these stories to more people around the globe. The young woman exhaled slowly. Every nerve told her to step back. Strange requests from strangers inside a bank rarely ended well. But staring into his eyes, she didn't find anything threatening. She found isolation, the kind that only builds after years of being unheard. "I'm Claire," she said gently. "Tell me what you need." The old man's shoulders sagged with relief. "Just stay close and smile," he said. "If anyone asks, say you're my granddaughter." Claire nodded, still puzzled. But sometimes compassion moves faster than understanding. She walked beside him toward the manager's office, where the man in the charcoal suit, the branch manager, waited, his expression guarded. "Mr. Dawson," he said, "you actually brought her." Claire's pulse jumped. The old man answered simply, "I did." The manager's posture eased. "Good," he said. "Per the note on your file, we couldn't move forward without a relative present. We've been trying to reach someone for weeks." Claire shot the old man a startled glance. He only looked away. The manager pulled out a heavy folder. "Your savings, your retirement accounts, and the safe deposit box. Everything's prepared." Claire could hardly process it. His coat was patched at the elbows. His shoes were cracked at the seams. Yet the paperwork told a story of decades of quiet discipline. As they moved through the forms, the manager asked Claire a few basic questions, and she answered carefully, adding nothing she didn't need to. Eventually, the signatures were finished. The manager rose and smiled. "Thank you both for coming in. Your grandfather talks about family more than you'd think." Those words landed on the old man like a blow no one else noticed. Once outside the office, Claire turned to him. "I'm confused," she admitted quietly. He lowered himself onto a bench nearby. "My actual granddaughter left the country 8 years ago," he said, his tone even despite the weight behind it. "She used to call every week, then once a month, then nothing." Claire sat beside him in silence. "My son died before that," he went on. "My daughter has her own household now. She thinks I'm content on my own." He glanced down at the folder in his lap. "I wasn't after money. I just needed someone next to me so the bank wouldn't turn me away." Claire's eyes stung. "You could have asked anyone in there." "I did try," he said with a faint smile. You're the only one who didn't keep walking." That sentence stayed with her long after. They lingered outside beneath the midday sun before she offered to drive him home. His apartment was modest but immaculate. Photographs lined every shelf: birthdays, road trips, fishing days, graduations, holidays full of noise and laughter, all of them frozen years in the past. The quiet inside felt heavier than the walls holding it in. Before she left, Claire asked if she could visit again. He looked at her, stunned. "You'd really come back?" She smiled. "If you'll let me." That Saturday, she returned with a pot of soup and a warm loaf of bread. The next week, they played checkers. Soon, weekends became a routine of stories and shared meals. Mr. Dawson showed her how to refinish old wood, tend a garden, and bake the cinnamon bread his late wife once made every fall. Claire learned that kindness rarely needs to be loud. Often, it just needs to show up. Weeks turned into months. Neighbors noticed the once silent apartment now filled with laughter. Claire eventually talked him into visiting a senior center nearby. He hesitated at first. "I'm past all that," but she pushed back gently. "They don't know what they're missing." Within a month, he was leading a woodworking group for local teens. Veterans dropped by for coffee every Thursday. Kids gathered to hear him talk about the world decades before their time. The man who thought he'd been forgotten slowly built a new circle of his own. One frosted December morning, Claire arrived at his door with gifts in hand. Before she could knock twice, the door swung open. He handed her a small envelope. Inside was a photo of the two of them, seated on the very bench outside the bank where they'd first met. On the back, one line was written, "The granddaughter kindness gave me." Claire's eyes filled instantly. "You changed everything for me," she whispered. He shook his head slowly, smiling. "No, you reminded me my story wasn't over." Years afterward, whenever people asked Claire why she spent so much time volunteering at shelters and care homes, her mind always drifted back to that one ordinary afternoon at the bank. She'd walked in only to deposit a check. She walked out having learned that 5 minutes of compassion can quietly become a lifetime of connection. Somewhere, someone near you may be carrying a loneliness you can't see. A single smile, a single pause, a single act of kindness can rewrite the rest of someone's life. You may never know whose story changes simply because you chose to stay instead of leaving. So the next time a stranger asks for a moment of your time, remember the old man on that bench. Kindness often starts with one small yes. And sometimes, the family that matters most isn't the one we're given, but the one we choose to build. If this story moved you, pass it along to someone you love. Because a small act of kindness today could become someone else's miracle tomorrow.